of both parties in this job. When you're up here in this briefing room speaking to the American public, do you view yourself and your role as speaking on, advocating on behalf of the president or providing the unvarnished truth that is, not to lie, not to obfuscate to the American people?
I commit to telling the truth from this podium every single day. I commit to speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. That is my job. And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people, and that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that.
Caroline Leavitt had her first briefing as Donald Trump's new press secretary, and she didn't seem very happy about being asked to be honest.
I vowed to provide the truth from this podium. We ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House. So yes, I will hold myself to the truth, and I expect everyone in this room to do the same.
Now, why does every Trump press secretary have to immediately be a complete asshole?
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period.
Combative energy like that had MAGA supporters falling over themselves when Leavitt started that briefing. They were calling her the greatest press secretary of all time, and that the media didn't know it was going to hit them. These folks have been conditioned to celebrate constant attacks from Trump world. Unless the questions are softballs made to push a little bit more North Korean-style propaganda.
Yes. Welcome. You look great. You're doing a great job. You talked about transparency, and some of us in this room know how just transparent President Trump has been the last 5 or 6 years. I think you'll do the same. My question is, do you think this latest incident with the president of Colombia is indicative of the global powerful respect they have for President Trump moving forward, not only to engage in economic diplomacy with these countries, but also world peace?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'll echo the answer that the president gave on Air Force One last night when he was asked a very similar question by one of your colleagues in the media. This signifies peace through strength is back. And this president will not tolerate.
That reporter's Brian Glenn, Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend, an obvious MAGA journalist that actually had a chance to ask about the back and forth between Trump and the Colombian president. But he was only interested in making statements about the omnipotence of Trump and the startling honesty from Caroline Leavitt. It's what fascist regimes do. They claim amazing feats without any proof or details behind it.
Thank you, Caroline. On California, could you please clarify what the military did with the water last night as referenced in the president's Truth Social post?
The water has been turned back on in California, and this comes just days after President Trump visited Pacific Palisades, and as you all saw, applied tremendous pressure on state and local officials in Pacific Palisades, including Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, to turn on the water and to direct that water to places in the south and in the middle of the state that have been incredibly dry, which has led to the expansion, the rapid expansion of these fires.
So could you clarify what the military's role was, where the water came from, and how it got there?
Again, the Army Corps of Engineers has been on the ground in California to respond to the devastation from these wildfires. And I would point out that just days after President Trump visited the devastation from these fires, the water was turned on. That is because of the pressure campaign.
He just showed up and turned the faucet on. She knows about as little as Donald Trump knows or cares about the fires in Southern California. But she carries that same confident ignorance that he does. And when anyone asks for specifics, they're creeping into that gotcha question territory. It's the area where underqualified people are hired strictly due to their ability to kiss Trump's ass while complaining about accomplished candidates whose skin is just too dark. So when she had to answer for Trump's federal aid freeze that caused chaos, panic, and confusion, she was back on the attack.
Well, I think there's only uncertainty in this room amongst the media. There's no uncertainty in this building. So let me provide the certainty and the clarity that all of you need. This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. individual assistance. That includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. However, it is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars.
So everyone else is confused, not the White House being run by a wrinkled toddler that makes drastic decisions based on which vendetta is brewing in his head at the time. You know, being this aggressively clueless leaves them open for so many more gotcha questions.
Medicaid. It wasn't clear to me whether you were saying that no Medicaid would be cut off. Obviously, a lot of this goes to states before it goes to individuals and so forth. So are you guaranteeing here that no individual now on Medicaid would see a cutoff because of the pause?
I'll check back on that and get back to you. John.
It's weird that first she accused everyone else in the room of being confused, but it ended with the press secretary having to check and get back to them on this one. You know, and the minions won't remember how that non-answer sounded a lot like the ones that they raked Jen Psaki over the coals for giving.
Trying to be extra careful to avoid gaffes at the White House press shop, well, that's taken on a whole new meaning.
I don't have anything new for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly. I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
Now, whether that's a tick, a lack of preparedness, or an intentional lack of specificity, which would later have to be defended, the lack of clear answers are growing frustration for many.
I often note I'm going to circle back. I hate to disappoint conservative Twitter, but I am going to circle back.
The circling back criticism became one of MAGA's rallying cries, making the idea of getting an accurate answer seem more like incompetence or a need to hide something. So, as usual, with that answer on the federal aid freeze not causing any disruptions to vital services like Medicare, Caroline Leavitt's sudden need to circle back was a sign that she already broke her angry promise to tell the truth.
Despite what the White House press secretary said at the podium earlier, I believe it is my duty to report to you the truth of what actually happened today in Illinois. Donald Trump's administration is lying to you. The White House's attempt to walk back what they did today does not match what we saw on the ground. They assured us that Medicaid would not be affected. That was a lie. Our state agencies were unable to access the Medicaid system until an hour ago, preventing payments for services. And this has been reported from states across the nation. When we reached out to federal agencies, they informed us that they have been directed not to discuss any guidance with states. They have canceled previously scheduled meetings for this week. The White House assured us that Head Start would not be affected. That was a lie. Providers across the state experienced outages, and some were unable to make their payroll. They assured us that they were doing nothing to take away individual assistance from the most vulnerable people in our state. But they refused to say that they would restore LIHEAP, the Low-Income Housing Energy Assistance Program, payments to support the unemployment system, and Meals on Wheels. These are programs that hundreds of thousands of Illinoisans depend on: children, seniors, veterans, working parents. Let's just be clear about what happened over the last 24 hours. At 7:42 p.m. last night, we saw a memo from the White House saying that they were pausing federal funding across the board. This morning, along with all 50 states across the country, we discovered that our ability to access critical federal funding had been cut off. And now the administration would like us to believe that these were just coincidental website outages. Donald Trump and his administration have not earned the benefit of the doubt. They are either lying to us or they are critically incompetent.